Imagine standing at the edge of a forest so vast that it stretches beyond the horizon. A place where the trees rise higher than skyscrapers. Where thousands of animals remain hidden beneath a ceiling of leaves. And where every shadow could conceal a predator, or a mystery. This is the Amazon rainforest. Covering more than 5.5 million square kilometers across South America. It is the largest tropical rainforest on Earth. Scientists estimate that nearly 1 in every 10 known species lives somewhere inside this green labyrinth. Yet despite centuries of exploration, much of the Amazon remains unexplored. There are rivers that appear to boil without volcanoes. Ancient cities swallowed by vegetation. Tribes that have never contacted the outside world. Legends of a city made entirely of gold. And creatures that seem too unbelievable to be real. Some of these stories are supported by science. Others continue to challenge everything we know. Tonight, we journey into one of the last great frontiers of our planet. Welcome to the dark secrets of the Amazon rainforest. Long before the first pyramid was built in Egypt, before Rome rose to power, before humans ever crossed the oceans, the Amazon already existed. For millions of years, this forest has continued to grow, evolve, and protect countless forms of life. Today, it stretches across 9 countries in South America. Its rivers flow for thousands of miles before reaching the Atlantic Ocean. From space, the forest looks peaceful, a solid blanket of green. But appearances can be deceiving. Beneath that canopy lies one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. Scientists estimate that more than 16,000 different species of trees grow here. Each one supports hundreds of insects, birds, fungi, and mammals. Some trees are so enormous they rise more than 80 meters into the sky. Their roots spread across the forest floor like the walls of an ancient fortress. Sunlight rarely reaches the ground. Instead, the forest exists in layers. The tallest trees form the emergent layer. Below them lies the dense canopy. Then comes the understory, where strange plants compete for every ray of light. Finally, the forest floor, a world of darkness, humidity, and endless decay. Every fallen leaf becomes food for insects. Every insect becomes prey for birds. Every bird must avoid snakes, jaguars, and eagles. It is a perfectly balanced system. Yet despite centuries of scientific research, much of the Amazon remains unexplored. Entire valleys have never been mapped in detail. Many rivers have never been fully surveyed. Scientists continue discovering new frogs, fish, spiders, orchids, and insects almost every year. Some are no larger than a fingernail. Others completely rewrite what we know about evolution. The Amazon is often called Earth's lungs. While that nickname oversimplifies its role, the rainforest is undeniably one of the planet's most important ecosystems. Its forests store enormous amounts of carbon and recycle vast quantities of water into the atmosphere, influencing rainfall across South America. But perhaps its greatest mystery is how much remains hidden. Every expedition uncovers something unexpected. Every satellite image reveals new clues. And every year, the forest reminds humanity that nature still keeps many of its greatest secrets. For centuries, explorers believed they had seen almost everything the Amazon had to offer. Deadly snakes, poisonous frogs, predators lurking beneath the water. But hidden deep within the Peruvian Amazon lies something far more unbelievable. A river so hot that it can cook living creatures alive. At first, stories about this river were dismissed as myths. Indigenous communities spoke of a sacred place where the earth itself breathed fire beneath the water. Hunters warned their children to stay away from the steaming river, believing powerful spirits protected it. Most outsiders laughed at these tales, assuming they were nothing more than local folklore. Then, scientists finally found it, known as Shinay Timpishka, which roughly translates to boiled by the heat of the sun. This remarkable river stretches for more than 6 kilometers. In some sections, the water reaches temperatures close to the boiling point. Steam rises continuously from its surface, creating an eerie white mist that drifts silently through the surrounding jungle. Standing beside the river is unlike anything most people have ever experienced. The humid air becomes almost unbearable. The sound of bubbling water echoes through the forest, while clouds of steam blur the trees beyond the riverbank. Even before touching the water, the intense heat can be felt against your skin. According to local guides, small animals occasionally fall into the river while searching for water. Those unable to escape the current can suffer severe burns or die from the extreme temperatures. Although some stories exaggerate the events, the danger posed by the river is very real. The greatest mystery, however, is not how hot the water is. It is why the river is hot at all. Normally, rivers with temperatures this high are found near active volcanoes or geothermal regions such as Iceland or Yellowstone National Park. Yet the boiling river lies hundreds of kilometers from the nearest active volcanic system. For decades, this puzzled scientists. How could such an enormous volume of water remain so hot without any visible volcanic activity nearby? Geologists eventually proposed that rainwater seeps deep underground through fractures in the Earth's crust. As the water descends, it encounters rocks heated by geothermal energy. The superheated water then rises back to the surface through cracks, feeding the river with water hot enough to produce steam. While this explanation fits many of the observations, researchers continue to study the region because the geological system is unusually large and complex. Questions remain about how the underground pathways formed and why this particular area releases so much heat. For the indigenous people who have lived here for generations, however, scientific theories do not replace ancient beliefs. To them, Shanay Timpishka is a sacred place. They believe powerful spirits inhabit the river, protecting the surrounding forest from those who enter with greed or disrespect. Traditional healers still visit the river to perform ceremonies and collect medicinal plants, treating the area with profound reverence. Whether one believes the scientific explanation or the spiritual traditions, everyone agrees on one thing. This river commands respect. Its existence reminds us that even in the 21st century, the Amazon continues to surprise us. A place where myths often contain a grain of truth, and where nature can seem almost supernatural. Yet the boiling river is only the beginning. Because somewhere deeper within this endless jungle lies a mystery that has tempted kings, destroyed expeditions, and driven countless men to their deaths. A city said to shine brighter than the sun itself. A city made entirely of gold. Its name was El Dorado. There is perhaps no legend in South America more famous than El Dorado. For more than 500 years, this single story has lured explorers into one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Some risked everything in search of unimaginable wealth. Many never returned. Others came back with stories so unbelievable that they only fueled the legend even further. But what if the greatest treasure in history was never a city at all? To understand the mystery of El Dorado, we must travel back to the early 16th century, when Spanish conquistadors first arrived in South America. They had already witnessed astonishing civilizations. The Aztecs possessed magnificent temples and enormous cities. The Incas ruled an empire that stretched across mountains, deserts, and forests. Everywhere they looked, they found gold, not as money, but as a sacred material connected to the gods. The Spanish quickly became obsessed. Every rumor of another kingdom rich in gold became another reason to march deeper into the unknown. Among these stories, one stood above all others. It spoke of a powerful ruler who covered his body in fine gold dust before performing a sacred ceremony on the surface of a mountain lake. As drums echoed through the hills, priests carried precious offerings onto a wooden raft. The ruler stood at the center, his skin glowing beneath the morning sun. Then, surrounded by chanting priests and tribal leaders, he stepped toward the edge. Gold ornaments, emeralds, and sacred objects were thrown into the water as gifts to the gods. Finally, the ruler himself entered the lake. When he emerged, the gold dust had washed away, completing the ritual. This ceremony took place at Lake Guatavita, high in what is now Colombia, and it was practiced by the Muisca people. The Spanish heard these stories through interpreters and local guides. But as the stories traveled from village to village, they changed. The Golden Man slowly became the Golden Kingdom. The Golden Kingdom became the Golden City. Before long, El Dorado was no longer a man. It was believed to be the richest city on earth. Some imagined streets paved with gold. Others believed entire temples were built from solid precious metals. The legend spread like wildfire across Europe. Kings financed expeditions. Merchants invested fortunes. Adventurers abandoned their homes. Thousands crossed the Atlantic believing they would become unimaginably wealthy. Instead, they found something else. The Amazon. Dense jungle. Poisonous insects. Endless rivers. Disease. Starvation. Many expeditions vanished without leaving behind a single survivor. One of the most famous searches was led by Gonzalo Pizarro, the younger brother of Francisco Pizarro, who had conquered the Inca Empire. In 1541, Pizarro assembled hundreds of Spanish soldiers, thousands of indigenous porters, horses, pigs, hunting dogs, and enough supplies to last months. Their goal was simple: find El Dorado. The journey quickly became a nightmare. Heavy rains destroyed their equipment. Food ran out. Horses died. Men began eating leather belts and saddle straps just to survive. Some disappeared into the jungle and were never seen again. Eventually, Pizarro ordered one of his officers, Francisco de Orellana, to travel downstream in search of food. Orellana drifted farther and farther away until he realized the current was too powerful to fight. Rather than return, he continued forward. Without intending to, he became the first European to navigate the entire length of the Amazon River. Pizarro never found El Dorado. Neither did Orellana. But their stories made the Amazon even more mysterious. Every indigenous village they encountered seemed to know another story. Another kingdom. Another mountain. Another hidden valley. Always farther away. Always just beyond the next river. For centuries, the legend refused to die. British explorer Sir Walter Raleigh became convinced that El Dorado existed somewhere in the jungles of present-day Guyana. He organized multiple expeditions. He returned to England empty-handed. His final failure ultimately contributed to his execution. Even after hundreds of unsuccessful searches, people continued to believe. Why? Because fragments of the legend were actually true. Archaeologists have recovered gold objects from Lake Guatavita. Historical records confirm that the Muisca people performed ceremonies involving gold offerings. Beautiful gold figures, ceremonial rafts, jewelry, and sacred artifacts have all been discovered. One of the most famous discoveries is the tiny golden raft known today as the Muisca raft. Created centuries before Europeans arrived, it depicts a ruler standing on a ceremonial platform surrounded by attendants. To many historians, this small sculpture is one of the strongest pieces of evidence that the original ritual truly existed. But it also reveals something important. The ceremony celebrated spiritual devotion, not unimaginable wealth. Gold held religious significance. It symbolized the sun, the gods, power, transformation. The Spanish misunderstood this entirely. They measured gold by its monetary value. The Muisca measured it by its spiritual meaning. In many ways, El Dorado became the greatest misunderstanding in exploration history. A sacred ritual transformed into an impossible dream. Yet the mystery does not end there. In recent decades, archaeologists using satellite imagery and lidar technology have uncovered evidence that the Amazon once supported surprisingly large and sophisticated societies. Hidden beneath dense forests are ancient roads, earthworks, canals, and settlements invisible from the ground. These discoveries have changed our understanding of the rainforest forever. For generations, scientists believed the Amazon was too harsh to support large populations. Now, it appears that millions of people may once have lived here before European diseases devastated indigenous communities. Could one of those forgotten civilizations have inspired the legend of El Dorado? Most historians remain skeptical. There is no credible evidence that a city built entirely of gold ever existed. But there is growing evidence that remarkable societies flourished within the rainforest, societies whose achievements were forgotten for centuries. Perhaps El Dorado was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was never a place. Perhaps it was a story that grew larger each time it was told. A story born from truth, expanded by greed, and immortalized by mystery. Even today, somewhere beneath the endless canopy of the Amazon, ancient ruins continue to emerge from the shadows. And with every new discovery, the legend lives on. If hidden cities once existed beneath this vast rainforest, then who still lives here today? The answer may be even more astonishing. Because deep inside the Amazon, there are people who have never joined the modern world. For most of us, the modern world feels impossible to escape. Satellites circle above our heads. Smartphones connect us across continents. Cities glow through the night, visible even from space. It is easy to believe that every corner of our planet has already been discovered. That every culture has been documented. And that every society has become part of the modern world. But deep inside the Amazon, that belief begins to fall apart. Far beyond the last villages. Beyond the rivers traveled by tourists. And beyond the reach of most roads. There are people who have chosen a very different path. People who continue to live almost entirely as their ancestors did centuries ago. These are the uncontacted tribes of the Amazon. For generations, stories about these isolated communities sounded almost mythical. Explorers occasionally reported seeing smoke rising above the trees. Hunters claimed to have found footprints where no villages appeared on maps. Pilots described small clearings hidden beneath the forest canopy. Sometimes they caught only a brief glimpse of thatched roof homes before disappearing back into the clouds. For years, many of these reports could not be verified. Then aerial surveys began revealing something remarkable. Small villages, carefully cultivated gardens, canoes resting along narrow rivers, and people looking up as aircraft passed overhead. Today, researchers believe that dozens of uncontacted or voluntarily isolated indigenous groups still live within the Amazon basin, particularly in parts of Brazil and Peru. Exact numbers remain uncertain because these communities avoid outside contact and governments generally try to protect their privacy. These communities are not lost. They are not unaware that the outside world exists. Many of them have a painful memory of it. Throughout history, contact with outsiders often brought disease, violence, slavery, and the destruction of entire communities. Long before modern medicine reached the rainforest, illnesses such as influenza, measles, and smallpox spread through indigenous populations with devastating consequences. Entire villages disappeared within weeks. Stories of those tragedies have been passed from one generation to the next. For many isolated groups, avoiding outsiders is not fear. It is survival. That is why modern governments and indigenous protection agencies generally follow a simple policy. Leave them alone. Aircraft are kept at a distance. Expeditions avoid entering protected territories. Direct contact is considered only in the most extreme emergencies. Because even a common cold carried by an outsider could become deadly for people with little or no immunity to modern diseases. Life inside the rainforest demands extraordinary knowledge. Every tree, every vine, every stream has a purpose. Children learn to recognize edible fruits before they can read. Hunters identify animals by broken branches, distant calls, and footprints barely visible in the mud. Medicinal plants are remembered through stories passed down over countless generations. Knowledge that took centuries to build exists not in books, but in memory. To outsiders, the forest may appear chaotic. To those who have lived there for generations, it is an enormous living map. Researchers who work alongside contacted indigenous communities are often amazed by their understanding of the ecosystem. Some can identify hundreds of plant species at a glance. Others know exactly when certain fish migrate or which insects appear before seasonal rains. This knowledge has become increasingly valuable to science. Medicines developed from rainforest plants have helped treat diseases around the world. Scientists continue studying traditional indigenous knowledge with great respect, recognizing that many discoveries began with observations made long before modern laboratories existed. Yet despite all we have learned, the deepest parts of the Amazon remain remarkably mysterious. Occasionally, satellite images reveal new forest clearings that were not present just a few years earlier. Sometimes arrows are found embedded in abandoned canoes left by illegal loggers. In rare cases, isolated groups have approached nearby communities briefly before disappearing back into the forest. Each encounter reminds us that these people are not relics of the past. They are living societies, making their own choices, protecting their own future. Perhaps the greatest lesson they offer is not how different they are from us, but how different our relationship with nature has become. While much of the modern world struggles with pollution, deforestation, and climate change, these communities have survived in one of Earth's most challenging environments for countless generations without destroying the forest that sustains them. The Amazon has protected them. And in many ways, they have protected the Amazon. But not every inhabitant of this rainforest is human. Some creatures hiding beneath these trees have inspired nightmares for centuries. Some are beautiful, some are deadly, and one of them has convinced generations of people that monsters really do exist. Its body can disappear beneath dark water without leaving a single ripple. Its strength is almost impossible to imagine. And when it finally strikes, escape is rarely an option. The rainforest belongs to the anaconda. The Amazon is often called the world's greatest rainforest. But for many animals, it is also a battlefield. Every day, countless creatures hunt, hide, and fight to survive. Among them is one of the most feared snakes on Earth, the green anaconda. Unlike venomous snakes, the anaconda doesn't rely on poison. It waits patiently beneath the water, almost invisible. When prey comes close, it strikes with incredible speed, wrapping its powerful body around the victim. With every breath the prey takes, the coils tighten until escape becomes impossible. The largest confirmed anacondas can exceed 8 meters in length and weigh more than 200 kilograms. Stories of snakes reaching 15 or even 20 meters have circulated for centuries. But there is no scientific evidence to support those claims. Sharing the jungle is another silent predator. The jaguar. Unlike most big cats, jaguars are excellent swimmers. They hunt fish, turtles, caimans, and even anacondas. Their bite is among the strongest of any big cat, powerful enough to crush the skull of its prey. Then there is the black caiman. Floating silently with only its eyes above the surface, it can remain almost motionless for hours before launching a sudden attack. As one of the Amazon's top predators, few animals dare challenge an adult black caiman. Not every danger is large. Some of the deadliest creatures are no bigger than your hand. The poison dart frog dazzles with bright blue, yellow, or red skin. Those vivid colors are nature's warning sign. Certain species produce toxins powerful enough to kill predators, though many species are harmless to humans unless their toxins enter the body. And then there's the bullet ant. Its sting has been described as one of the most painful in the insect world. Victims often compare the pain to being shot, and it can last for hours. Even beneath the rivers, danger never sleeps. The electric eel can generate powerful electric shocks to stun prey and defend itself. Hidden in muddy water, it reminds us that even the calmest-looking river can conceal unexpected threats. Yet despite all these predators, none has inspired more stories than the creature waiting in the Amazon's rivers. A beautiful animal, with an unforgettable pink color. According to local legend, it isn't always a dolphin. Sometimes, it becomes human. As the sun disappears behind the Amazon rainforest, the rivers become strangely quiet. Mist rises from the water. The sounds of birds fade away. And according to one of the Amazon's oldest legends, this is when the pink river dolphin, known locally as the boto, begins its transformation. For generations, Indigenous communities have told the story of a dolphin that leaves the river at night and becomes a handsome young man dressed in white. He wears a wide-brimmed hat to hide the blowhole on top of his head. He appears at village celebrations, dances with young women, and mysteriously disappears before sunrise. By morning, he is gone, leaving only questions behind. While the legend is a fascinating part of Amazonian folklore, the real pink river dolphin is no less extraordinary. Unlike ocean dolphins, the Amazon river dolphin has a long, narrow snout, flexible neck, and large paddle-shaped fins that allow it to swim through flooded forests where other dolphins could never go. Its pink color becomes more vibrant as it ages, especially in adult males. Scientists believe the color comes from scar tissue, blood vessels close to the skin, and natural pigmentation. Highly intelligent and curious, these dolphins use echolocation, sending out sound waves to navigate the dark, muddy waters where visibility is often almost zero. For local communities, the boto is more than just an animal. It is a symbol of mystery, wisdom, and respect for the river. Many believe harming one brings terrible misfortune. Whether that is true or not, one fact is certain. The pink river dolphin is one of the Amazon's most remarkable creatures. And today it faces growing threats from habitat loss, pollution, and illegal fishing. As the forests disappear and rivers change, even ancient legends risk fading into history. But while stories of shape-shifting dolphins remain legends, the next mystery is very real. Hidden beneath the dense canopy of the Amazon, archaeologists are uncovering evidence that entire civilizations once flourished here. Cities, roads, and monumental earthworks, all hidden for centuries beneath the world's largest rainforest. When we think of rivers, we imagine water flowing across the ground. But above the Amazon, another kind of river exists. One that cannot be seen with the naked eye. Every day, billions of trees release enormous amounts of water vapor into the atmosphere through a process called transpiration. Together, the rainforest pumps billions of tons of moisture into the sky. Powerful winds carry this invisible stream of water across South America. Scientists call these massive flows flying rivers. They help bring rain to farms, forests, and cities thousands of kilometers away. Without them, large parts of South America would be much drier. The Amazon is not just a rainforest. It is a giant natural engine that helps regulate climate across an entire continent. But this system is becoming increasingly fragile. As more forests are cleared, fewer trees release moisture into the air. Less moisture means less rain. Less rain means drier forests. And drier forests become more vulnerable to wildfires. It is a dangerous cycle that concerns scientists around the world. The future of the Amazon is no longer just an environmental issue. It affects agriculture, freshwater supplies, wildlife, and millions of people who depend on stable rainfall. Despite everything we have learned, the rainforest continues to surprise us. Every expedition uncovers new species. Every satellite scan reveals new landscapes. And every scientific discovery reminds us that we still know far less about the Amazon than we once believed. But perhaps the greatest mystery is not what we have already found. It is what still remains hidden beneath millions of hectares of untouched forest.